All right, here we go. Video number 5, ways to break and ways to build. So the teacher asked those sitting in his class, what do you believe to be the number one relationship killer? And the newly married man who had just gone through all the premarital counseling, read all the books, and had become the pseudo relationship expert raised his hand with confidence. And he said to the speaker, that's easy. If you want to break a relationship, it has to do with communication, sex, family, and finances, the big 4. And the speaker, with that mischievous smile, said, sorry, bro. I set you up for failure, but you're wrong. You're dead wrong. And the speaker went on to say that the number one way to kill a relationship is through unmet expectations. Not only does this poison newly married men and women, but this one little piece of advice can destroy a dating relationship as well. And you'll soon find that placing your unmet expectations on your relationship will destroy it. In Module 1, I did 2 videos on the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse and flooding. This video is 5 and 6. If you forgot about those videos, I want you to look back and rewatch them multiple times because they're very important. I really do believe that men, when they become better men and learn to never react with those vicious techniques, it could actually save many marriages and relationships. Derek Harvey, who wrote extensively on this notion of unmet expectations, has said that unmet expectations is the mother of frustration. And he came up with this little equation. He says, expectations minus observations equals frustration. Before I continue, I want to remind you that when flooding occurs, remember what flooding is. It will result in the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, which is criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. And it's a slippery slope to destroying a relationship. And our frustrations over the little things, not necessarily the big things like communication, sex, family, and finances, although they can play a part, are what lead to flooding. And remember, flooding. We just get flooded with all of its emotions. We shut down and we disengage and we disconnect. And remember, flooding is what hijacks our emotions, causing us to react and not respond when at the tipping point. So expectations. Think of it like this. We're going to talk about expectations, observations, and then frustrations. So expectations. Let me describe for you what Derek was talking about with his little equation. Early in my dating relationship with Angie, as I shared before, I would take her on a date day every Friday. I had half the day off and she had the whole day off. For about a month, I would generally pick her up between 1 and 2 p.m. in the afternoon on Friday, and we would do something adventurous around water and usually have a great time together. This one particular Friday, I had my expectations nice and high. I did my research and decided to take Angie out near a fish hatchery about 40 minutes from our place. And our expectations were really high because of the amazing dates that we had up to that point. Now, the observation, what actually happened. When we arrived, the place was dismal, dried up, and looked like it was last kept up in 1976. Well, we ended up talking to a fish and wildlife worker who told us if you want somewhere beautiful to go, you got to go down to Country Road X, turn at Country Road Y, follow these twists and turns, come to the perfect place Z, right? So we followed his instructions perfectly, which took us through a field of burrs, literally, y'all, a field of burrs. And toward the end of where we were supposed to be, there was a hill we had to scale down about 50 feet, and Angie and I were determined to get to this perfect place, right? It was supposed to be paradise. And the final marker was this little river. So when we got down to this 50 feet, we're supposed to look for this little river. And we could hike along the river and be swept away by adventure, beauty, and a great dating experience that particular day, right? And when we got to this, quote, river, it was more like a stream. I could literally step across the stream with one step, and that step was filled with pain because I had so many burrs in my shoes. Mind you, I actually live on the Sacramento River. So when I saw the stream and the guy tells me there's a river, I'm in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, this competes with the Sacramento River. Now we're at this stream. The scenery is average, maybe less than average. We have burrs in our shoes, and we have to hike back up the hill that we had just scaled down, and it was the worst date ever. Our expectations Paradise, our observation, ugly field of burrs with a little stream that was supposed to be a river. Now, this is the equation for disappointment. Remember, expectation minus observation equals frustration, right? So now, in reality, it was such a horrible date and a string of great dates that we've told the story multiple times and definitely made up for it in the laughs that we've gotten from when we shared the story. Derek makes the simple and straightforward remark on how to overcome disappointment. Let your observation take precedence over expectation, right? Hold our expectations loosely. Not that we aren't expecting things to be good, but we hold them loosely, right? Now, last night I was in a coaching conversation with a client, and the battle he constantly faces is the fantasy that he's created in his head continually leads him to massive disappointment. So he has this fantasy in his head, he has this crazy high expectation, but his observations always don't match up, and he's just always in this place of disappointment. Some men want to see what they want to see, and to really see clearly, we must take off these mistaken lenses, especially when you like a girl and you're in a dating relationship and you're in a committed dating relationship. Derek would sum all this up by saying, go with the flow, hold your expectations loosely. But abandoning all expectations doesn't do you any good either. I just spent a few videos in this module convincing you to create the moments rather than allowing moments just to happen. When you have unmet expectations, it's very important, especially in the exclusivity phase, to make sure that you're planning for the best, but keeping your eyes open to what you are observing. Here's what I want you to do right now. Derek asks some great questions, and I want to ask you those questions. You're more than welcome to write them down in a journal, or if you're willing, in the Facebook group. But here are 3 questions that Derek asked that are very appropriate. So these are questions for overcoming disappointment. In what ways have you dealt with unmet expectations in an exclusive committed relationship? How have you positively handled facing reality when your fantasy gets in the way, right? What other ways have you combated frustration? Share those, write those down in a journal. We'd love to hear what you're saying in the Facebook group. Answer those questions on overcoming disappointment. Take a moment, answer those questions, and get ready for the next module. Our next module is on the 4th phase of the dating journey, which is intimacy. This is the good stuff. This is a great module. I will see you soon. It's been good. Take care.